am starting recording now.
All right.
There's the message. There it is. It says live. So we are live now.
We are live.
Sweet. So I am here with Jeremy. Jeremy has hosted or helped host both a lot of virtual summits. And our first question for him is, how'd you get started in summits or online events?
Oh, wow. It kind of accidentally happened. All right, so that's the real quick version. The long is I always want to add some context to everything, so I kind of give a backstory on different things. But I actually used to do public speaking years ago, and then I did a lot of work with the churches, and I did a lot of missions type stuff on the streets, and had a few businesses and work summits. So being in front of people and talking to people was something that I love to do and was always just had fun with and natural with. And so I was in a phase where I was retransitioning. I think we're almost always in that phase where we're retransitioning. We're always trying to evolve and grow.
I think we
And
call it pivot now.
pivot now. Okay, I mean, we whatever words we come up with every time we recreate these things so that it sounds more edgy and gives it, but it's just, hey, we're always growing, we're learning and evolving, at least we should be. I think that I've reached that level of perfection. I might be there, maybe I got a little bit more to go, but until then, I would keep changing. But no, I actually had a friend that said, "Hey, this guy's looking for somebody to host or work in a virtual summit." And I had no idea. I'd never worked a virtual summit. I've only been to real summits maybe twice in my life. Didn't know much about it. And they said, "Yeah, this person's in a bind and needs somebody to fill in for one event." All right, I'll go ahead and give it a shot. And got on there. And then what I do is work an area called the coaching zone. Um, and the coaching zone is an area where we'll have the main event over in the Zoom room. And that's where, all the other speakers are, and they're giving the proposals, and then they have what they call the coaching zone again. And what they do is tell people to sign a time with coaches. So they'll go set up a time with a coach, and that's a one-on-one session that they have with a coach, usually about 15-20 minutes. They come into my room, and I am the modern day switchboard operator. I put people in with their coaches. If their coaches are not available at the moment, well, I've got to keep the energy going. People come in from this room. Usually there's high energy. People are pumped up. You don't want them coming into this room and then them just staring at me and me staring at them and them twiddling their thumbs and a whole room of people doing that. So I keep people engaged, ask people what they're learning, find out a little bit more about each person. And then when their coaches come up, I put them in a room with them and they do their little one-on-one session and then go back to the main room. Um, so I've been doing that for a year now, a little over a year. So we started off to do one job, and then next thing you know, we're just doing tons of jobs. And I think on average, I'm doing two to three events every month. Um, Pretty
What?
soon, I think we're going to be doing four, so that'll be really good, and love doing it. So that's how I got into it.
Well, that's how I met you. I've never heard it called a switchboard operator before. I've heard a screen producer and back end admin, but the reason why I asked you to be on the show is because I really enjoyed your energy. I enjoyed meeting you. I really liked that you were so happy about doing what you do. So I figure you must really love your job. So what's next for you, being a switchboard operator or beyond being a switchboard operator?
Beyond being a switchboard operator, well, again, you have to add context with a few things. First, I want to address that I absolutely do love what I'm doing. I have so much fun, and the reason I love doing what I'm doing is that I've tied in with the group Let Your Nerd Be Heard. That's the company that I work for, and we contract with a lot of the groups that collaborates and the other JVIC and all these other groups. What's great about working with Let Your Nerd Be Heard is that Justin really works with organizations that are really making a difference in the world and are changing lives. And it's awesome to be a part of that. People that are coming through are getting knowledge that will transform them into that next level. Like we said, we're evolving and going to that next level, to be able to go out and really make a difference. And so I get to be a part of that. It's really cool. And then I get to meet personalities and all these different people from around the world. I mean, it's really cool. Here I am sitting in my living room. Now, a few years ago, we couldn't really say that very much, that we're talking with people from all around the world. But here I am in my, here talking to people from all over Australia, UK, all these other things. And it's really awesome. And with working with them, and I'll have to let you know, when I first started, I was in an area where I was pretty defeated. I had a business that closed. I had really lost a lot of the stuff that I had, and I was trying to figure out who I was again. I had just lost confidence in who I was. Working in these areas, seeing all these positive people that are doing these wonderful things in the world, that are making a difference, working with them week in and week out, really in being a part of that team meant something to me, and I learned so much. And again, it helped me to find who I was again. And so it's really exciting. So what's next for me is that I listened to one of the people that I work with, a Mana guy. He does the collaborate, and he talked about how he had woken up one day and he said he was going to change 100 million lives. I think it was 10 million or 100 million, something like that. It was a big number to me. When he said that, I was going, wow, that's really kind of presumptuous. That's just, you got to change that many lives. I mean, and I couldn't imagine myself at that point changing that many lives. Well, the more that I worked with this group and the more that I've been doing this and interacting with all these people, I kept asking myself the one question: why can't I change these lives? Why can't I do it? Why can't I be, I don't want to say the next Tony Robbins, because I don't want to be exactly like Tony Robbins, but a person that influences that many people? Why can't I do what these people are doing? And so, it really woke me up, and it was a reality check, and it made me really start checking into myself on who I was and the power that each and every one of us truly has. And so what I'm working on right now, I've been working on one called Ethos Shift Men's. I've had this group, Ethos Shift. Ethos stands for, in the speaking world, it stands for, there's ethos, porthos, and legos. Ethos stands for character and credibility of the speaker. And it also stands for character and spirit of a community. And I love that word, ethos. It's just great. And so I came up with this group called Ethos Shift, and I was interviewing different people that were doing wonderful things in the world, and I wanted people to shift the way they were thinking about themselves and what they can actually do in this world. And so I'm pursuing down that avenue. I've been working with Ethos Shift Men's, where we've had some men that are struggling in life, and we've been able to come together, and I'm learning from them. They've been learning from me. And now this evolved.
You're going in and out. I'm not sure if you're froze or I'm froze, but I can't hear you anymore. But I would like to tell people I met Jeremy at a Collaborate event, and I really enjoyed his energy. And I really do believe that one person can touch 100 million lives or 10,000.
All right, I think, are we back here? Hold on. Can you hear me
Yes,
okay?
yes. But I didn't
Okay,
know if I went
beautiful.
out or you went out, but I think I went out because my computer restarted.
Oh, okay. Well, you got a quick computer. All right, that's great.
You went out, but I think I went out because the computer restarted. There is a lag or
That's one of the things right now is we're doing a lot of stuff in the virtual world, but we have to rely on technology. And sometimes technology lets us down. We see it all the time in the virtual summits, where all of a sudden, and that's why we have a few team members working together, because internet might go out on one person. So you have to have that other team member to be able to pick up the ball and run with it. Otherwise, your whole event shut down.
yes. I got my router is in the room beside me, and I got a booster, and it still goes out. My speed test says that my internet service is very generous and that my power is going out. So I still have some things to figure out.
Yeah, it is. It is best. One of the things we found out that when working these summits is always hardwire yourself in. Get an RJ45 cable and plug it in. And I love to say that RJ45. It makes me sound so techie, like I really know what the heck I'm talking about. You throw things like that out there, and anyway, you get one of those and plug in directly to the router. That makes a huge difference.
I was wondering if I could find a cable long enough, or if I would have to daisy chain it and just plug it in, pull it out every time, or just on Thursdays.
That it depends on where you're at, but they've got some pretty long cables. They'll have like 25, 50. I mean, that you'll be able to find. There's a lot of industrial stuff that's out there, and then you just go to Best Buy, and if they don't have it, they'll put it on order
Yeah.
for that. And I'm saying that while I'm not hardwired in myself. So go with what I say, not with what I do. You know that old adage.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying I'm going to hardwire since I started the show in January, and yeah, it's like June now.
Yeah, what happens. Well, tomorrow. We'll get to it tomorrow.
For a long time, I know this is weird, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. For a long time, I didn't believe there was a such thing as time because I couldn't see it. All I knew if there was light and dark outside, and that's how I use for my days. There was no such thing as 10 o'clock in the morning. All I knew it was early or late because it was light outside or it was dark outside. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I get into those, especially when I'm working on projects and I'm oblivious and it's kind of like, did I eat today? What's going on? And again, I like saying these kinds of things because it makes me sound smart. Like, Sherlock Holmes movies, he'd be deep in thought for days and they'd be like, you have to eat. And I'm like, all right, this is a sign that I'm a genius. Even if I'm not, I'm telling myself that. There we go.
I like it. I'm going to use it.
There we go. Right? Absolutely. Time is trivial. It's for the common folk. Us geniuses. Yeah, we just.
If I
All
can't
right.
see it outside, yeah, it's not real. Like time started when man came. Before then there was seasons, supposedly. I think that I'm reverberating that right.
Sure. Well, now we're getting into the philosophies here. So now we're turning into a philosophy show. We can do that.
Well, let's get back to ethos shift.
Oh, okay. Sure. Well, it's one of those things where I really understand now that each and every one of us has the power to really change the world, and we're at a time right now where a lot of people need to step up and really walk into what they're meant to walk into. I think one of the issues that a lot of us have is we go into depression because we're not walking in our purpose. We know we're meant to do something more. We feel like we're constrained. We don't know how to move forward with these different things. And so we feel like we're just floundering around and just going day by day. And it's not that we're lazy, it's not or anything else, it's that we really want to inside, we're meant to do something more. And when we're not walking in that, then we know that there's a piece that's missing and we just can't place where it's at. And that's why it's important to me to get that out there for each individual to understand not only that they have the power to change the world, but to help them find that direction, help them find that purpose. So I'm evolving more into that. I'm working on a program right now. I kind of gave a little bit of what I'm doing, but we're going to be working on it on a bigger scale. I've met a lot of these different coaches and I'm putting the proposal together now to start working with a lot of these people to really start putting this in a bigger scale and reaching out to a lot of people and doing a program where people do that. One of the things that I'm seeing is a lot of people, and I did it myself, was that when I tried to, it's going, okay, I want to make a difference in the world, and they go out there and they try and they fall on their face. It's not that they didn't have the right goals. It's that we forget a very important step. You have to work on yourself first. You have to build your foundation and become a solid foundation before you can go out and do these other things. And that's where we get frustrated is a lot of us are going, okay, I'm ready to go change the world. Let me go out. I'm trying this new direction. I tried this new MLM. I'm trying these other different things, whatever it is. And I'm running, I'm spinning the wheels and I'm not getting anywhere and I'm not getting anywhere. And it's because we haven't really honed in on who we are. We got to do that first. And so working on that program to help people find who they are first. And then we go to the next step. All right, now let's live in your purpose. Where do you want to go? Let's start building that after that first important step. So I
It
did the
sounds like
same
we're still
thing.
talking about philosophy,
Huh?
philosophy in action. I can see
Philosophy
that.
in action.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just that we're all here for a reason. And we, like I said, and I've said it numerous times, we just got to walk in that. And so it's awesome that you're doing what you're doing here with the show. It's awesome that I found myself working these events. It wasn't by accident. Doing what I'm doing, there's a big purpose on a lot of these other things, and now we can get into religion or whatever you want to do. But I definitely believe that there is a purpose for everything in the universe, and it's kind of going, all right, when we start flowing in that and tapping into that, then we're going to be seeing some exceptional things happen in the world around us.
I believe that. So I've heard that you were talking about trying to change the world. And on the show, I've heard a lot of people say they tried to move fast by themselves, and then they realize they need help. And they get frustrated because they can't move as fast because they haven't stopped to ask for help. Um,
Yes.
Question for you is, when you started Ethos Men, did you try to start it by yourself and move fast, or did you already know you were going to need help?
I knew I was going to need help. Like we came to more of doing Ethos Men's, we didn't grow into anything huge. We had, I had a few coaches that got together, and we've had maybe about 20 guys that have come in and worked with us on the program and everything. But a lot of it was amazing because it was helping me to work on myself. And we started in January, and at first I wanted to hurry and build things, and I'm like, oh, we got to turn this into this, and we got to make money with this, and we got to do all these other things. And then finally I was like, you know what, I'm just letting it go. We're just gonna do the flow. I'm not as concerned about the money. I started learning more about myself and working on myself more. And these coaches were there every week, and they were growing as well. It was like a small community of coaches and everybody just growing together, learning from one another and lifting ourselves to that next level. And so, yeah, you have to have that community. And again, it's coming down to, you have to get yourself together. Like working on a team, we all sit there in business and we go, okay, I need a team to make something happen. Well, in order to have a team, you have to lead or be a leader in that team. You can't just sit there and go, this is my dream, I'm going to hand it off to somebody else. You have to be able to be in charge. Well, again, if you're not comfortable with who you are, if you're not really tapped into what your true abilities are within yourself, how do you properly lead? And then you have a team that's sitting here going, hey, we want to work with you, but you're not leading right because you're not worked within yourself. And so that's why I keep coming back to that first step of building that foundation. And so Ethos Men's, yeah, that really helped me build the foundation. I knew it was going to take a team. At first we hurried, we let it go. And it was amazing to see the transformation in myself and in the other people involved with the program. And we've taken a little break at the moment. We're going to be picking that back up. Summertime, a lot of people are doing things, and I'm just going into a new phase in growth in my life as well. And so excited to see what happens. But yeah, you definitely need that team in order to make things happen. You need the right people around you.
How did you know who to ask to be a part of your team?
Well, it was after about a year of working with different coaches and different people. I had a few people that had worked with me a while ago before I even started the virtual summits. And, I took some of their advice and then some of it I just left out. Like, okay, I don't need that in my life. I was picking and choosing what I wanted to listen to. And finally, when it came down to it, these coaches actually stuck with me over the years, and they go, "Okay, we understand you were floundering around." And so it was from having people that had been around for a while with me. And when I finally decided to do this, they were going, "Okay," and they were people that believed in me. They believed in what the vision was. They were other people that were aligned with me when I started aligning with myself. They were heart centered, wanted to reach the world and really make a change in the world. And so you need the right kind of people that are aligned with your heart. Now, you don't want people that think exactly like you. That's for sure. You want people with different, and you don't. When I was in business, I was surrounded by yes people all the time. You pay people, and yes, that sounds great. Yes, that sounds great. And was hardly getting anybody that would say, you know what, you need to take a step back. This isn't a good direction for you, or anything like that. And so, but again, you're not going to find that until, like I said, step one. And once you work on that, everything else will just start falling into place.
So once you got your group together, what was the first milestone that you wanted to reach? Do you
The
remember?
the first milestone, yeah, the first milestone was to actually go a month without everybody leaving. It was like if we could just make it this first month. And it was about I was starting it off with the program. I'm like, I want to change lives with guys. And there's a lot of guys that are struggling. I'm struggling. We want to figure this out. And so when I initially got the coaches together, it was like each one of these coaches will just do their little show each week, and and other people will join, and then that'll be good. And then it was about my second weekend, and I was watching their programs, and I'm like, you know what? I can't sit on the sidelines. I actually have to do this stuff myself and be involved. And so the coaches actually started challenging me, like you and I were talking about getting up early, different things like that. My calendar was all over my time, like we were talking about time, just, you know, I, I'd be working till 3, 4 in the morning, then get up noon the next day, all this other stuff, just whatever. I had no real schedule. And they challenged me saying, okay, you need to get up at 7 a.m. every day. And I thought they were crazy. At first one coach said 6, and I said, that's just not happening. No, I'm so we compromised with the 7. And then the next step they had me doing was walking every morning. I've got 7 stints in, I've had a stroke, I've got heart issues and a lot of different problems. And I let a lot of that mentally defeat me and was keeping me from moving forward with things. And I kept telling myself I couldn't. It was difficult for me to make it down the street, let alone do things. But they challenged me to walk every day, and so personal milestones with that helped me grow. And when I was achieving those, then it started going into business and working with these guys. And my priorities shifted from a company to make money to I just want to see some people change. And so my milestone then became, let's change the people that we're working with. And then I got to see each and every one of them change. And that was awesome. And I was very happy with that. And really didn't think about anything after that other than we're just helping to change some lives.
Good. What got me into getting up early and not getting lost in my own work was my husband telling me if I didn't believe in time, there was a such thing as priorities and intentions. So if I knew what I wanted to work on that, follow through, I could get some stuff done. I wouldn't be all over the place like I usually was and not working on certain things at certain times. So Yeah,
But
I understand that.
you definitely hit on something right there. Follow through. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a huge one. We all start with, there's a lot of us that start off going, hey, I want to do this. I want to paint the room. I want to do something. And we start off and then we start peeling the old paint, or do we start painting and then the next thing you know, we get distracted. Next thing you know, 5 years later, we're looking at a half painted room and we cover it up with like curtains or something to kind of not remind us that we didn't finish that. But we do that in life with a lot of things. And, when you do things, like you said, intentional and follow through, and start with the small things in life. I'm going to make sure I finish this, small projects. A lot of us want to start off with big projects, and not me, of course. I'm talking about other people. No, never. I would never do that. But we all have these projects that we want to do, and we go, okay, like somebody who's never built a car before might go, I'm going to build this $500,000 beautiful car that's going to be a showstopper for my first time. I've never built a car before and I just want to go at it. We tend to do that because we, of course, go big or go home. That's what we've always been taught. But it's like, you know what, start off very simple, start off with small steps. And sometimes we feel like we're not really accomplishing much by doing small steps. But when you do those small steps, you accomplish each one of those, then you progress quicker than you think, and you're going to see accomplishment happen in your life. But yeah, kind of went off on
I understand. For me, my definition for success is finishing something I've started, because I'm always very happy with my finished results. People say, don't be a perfectionist, but being a graphic designer, it's like, what's the point of doing it if you're not going to do it right? If you know the rules, go ahead and follow them. That way you can finish and it can be a good project. I can go off on a tangent of doing things perfectly in design, but I'm starting to learn now when to let things go. That's when I learned the word pivot. So I moved from working with graphic designers or freelance graphic designers and to working with business coaches, and now working with other event planners. So I am pivoting, I'm learning, and I am moving forward. So yes. What's your definition for success?
Sorry, I've got a snoring dog in the background. If you hear that, it's not explosions, it's not construction workers, it's a dog that snores so loud. He shakes he's just a little guy, he's a little King Charles, snores and the house will shake. I mean, it's unbelievable. Um, but anyway, back to my definition of success. Yeah, absolutely. Is when you set small goals and you achieve those goals in life. And every day that you wake up and you decide that I'm going to move forward in life, and you move towards that, is a successful day. We've been taught, when you're talking about success, a lot of times people, when you say success, the first thing that comes to their mind, I'm going to have a mansion, I'm going to have millions of dollars, I'm going to be, the next Elon Musk, then I'm successful. And it's going, wow, again, that comes back to the working on yourself part and what you think of success. But that's what's been drilled into our heads, and not just our heads, the generations before that. You've heard the old term of keeping up with the Joneses. I've got to have, in order for me to be successful, I have to have a bigger house than my neighbor. I've got to have a cooler car than my neighbor. I've got to have these things better than my neighbor. When I walk into a room, I've got to have all this other stuff. Then I'll be successful. And that really is garbage. And that's another thing that defeats so many people in life, is their definition of success. Like you said, setting those small goals, going out and achieving them, and making sure that you're doing something to grow. Like you said, or pivot. You're growing, you're evolving every day in life. So every day that you're moving forward to that is a successful day. So
That means you set priorities and intentions for your day at the start of your day or at the beginning of your week.
Uh, sure, we'll go with that. So my next step on being successful is to actually organize and set these goals daily. No, it's yeah, like you said, it's making these goals. I have a set, like I'm working on this new project, so I set down these goals. There's a whole bunch of steps in this project, and what goals do I want to reach? And then I have to prioritize those goals, and then set those dates. When do you want this goal achieved by? And it can happen during your day. I used to have people all the time that are like, you have to schedule your day, and I'm like, that's for other people. I just go with the flow and it'll happen. And next thing you know, I'm sitting here doing binge watching on Netflix when I have a project that's coming because I don't have any set time for myself. And we get distracted by the shiny things. And it's like, ooh, what's going on? And I'm in Bitcoin and all these other things, which, gosh, I could go into a whole lesson about that for anybody with it, but that's another time. But you get distracted. You'll see a little ticker that'll pop up and you say, oh, let me go check this, or let me go check that. When you actually have those goals set and you have times for yourself, and I'm working on that within myself right now. I mean, and I am seeing a huge difference when it comes to these things. Being intentional, like you said, setting those goals and then achieving them. You're going to see a lot of things happen differently in your life when you start doing that. So I'm doing that more in my life. I'm really starting to do that more because I have to. There's so many now. I'm starting to do more projects and getting more interviews and setting these meetings with people, and it's going, oh gosh, I have to do adulting. Oh no. What? I have to organize things. A Calendly? I need to get one of these things. Which I'm on the progress. It'll happen someday.
Yeah. I made my own calendar and I use affirmations for prioritize. And I write a lot of things down. Um, I'm a big fan of automation. And sometimes, like earlier in our interview, things don't happen. So I'm a big fan of writing it down. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I like writing things down. Unfortunately, I grew up with a mom that was a nurse that was around a lot of doctors, and somehow I inherited her writing, and so I write things down. I just can't interpret what I wrote down sometimes when I go and look at it, and that's pretty bad when you can't read your own writing. It's
I had my sister-in-law borrowed my notes on I think it was Excel or um Office, something with an Office product. And I gave her my notes and she gave it back to me within an hour and she says, I can't read hieroglyphics. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you wrote in pictures. I was like, yeah, so? And she's like, well, everybody doesn't read pictures. I'm like, okay. And that went over my head. I'm like, everybody doesn't read pictures. Why not? But yeah, I understand chicken scratch.
Yeah, well, one of the things actually when I went through college, sometimes you'd have a professor be like, okay, on this test, we'll allow you to have 1 page of notes to take with you on a test. It happened every once in a while. So I got good at writing very tiny and all over the place. It was like you would look at a piece of paper from me and be like, how the heck? I mean, my eyes must have been really good back in the day because I have to write this big in order to see it now. Uh, but yeah, it's one of those things. But yeah, you gotta take down notes. You got to, and I'm becoming more intentional with doing those things in my life right now as well. So I'm a work in progress, as we all are.
It's it's just that everybody has their own writing style.
Or
So
picture style.
yeah, I mean, when you move an arrow, it looks like an arrow. When you move the cursor and you're getting ready to make a letter change, it's an an eye. I'm thinking this is normal stuff, not hieroglyphics. But anyway, when you're ethos men, ethos shifts, and you're hosting virtual summits, what's
Mhm.
one of the first things you do
I'm sorry, about what do you mean first things that I do, like to
when you're getting ready to
mentally.
host an event? Do you set goals? What kind of goals do you set when you're starting your event?
Well, the first thing I do is I make sure that, like, I open the coaching zone. I'm there an hour early. I don't need to be there till about 15 minutes till. But what I want to do is make sure that my computer's running right, that everything is running perfectly. We don't want to have one of those things where I start and my computer decides it wants to update itself or do something like that. So I want to make sure that all updates are taken care of. Everything is ready to go. We're not going to run into any issues. I've had times where my computer decides it doesn't want to start or runs into one problem or another. And next thing you know, if I wouldn't have given myself that window to make sure that everything was taken care of, then I would have ran behind. And when you're hosting an event where you have hundreds and hundreds of people that are coming through, you can't run behind. When you have to make sure that that's taken care of. So yeah, I make sure that everything is set up. So I will actually get up early. I'll come and turn the computer on, then go take a shower or whatever, just to make sure the computer boots up properly. Then come back and check on it. So yeah, early. Make sure you're there early. That's just the big thing.
That's good advice. I started this computer and I started Zoom. So it's the first thing and it's fresh and it's still shut down. But I am going to look into the cable you were talking about earlier.
I mean, it happens. It's inevitable, especially like we were saying when it comes to technology. I've been in events where all of a sudden, like I said, my computer will crash. I'll have a backup. Usually what I have is my phone set up. And like Don, you have Erica's note taker, but you'll see in a lot of times events, you'll see host two or Jeremy two or something like that in a black screen, and that's my phone that's set up. That way, if Zoom does crash on my computer, then I have that at least set up, and I tell people, okay, give us a moment, and I can contact somebody else. It doesn't kick everybody out of the room. We don't have chaos and everything fall apart. So I have that backup that's set up. Our setup is usually kind of crazy when we're doing the events. I have one laptop over here that has the main event that's going on. I have the laptop here that I'm doing my coaching zone. I have I don't know, 45-inch TV that's set up over here that's hooked up to the computer. That I have what we call Acuity, which shows us the schedule of all the people with their coaches. That's set up right over there. And then I'll have my phone going right here as the backup for Zoom. And we also use that for Slack. So when people are trying to communicate behind the scenes at an event, we use Slack. And so I'm able to keep track of that and have it. So I have a nice little setup for every event that I do. Um,
Sounds nice. You got a standard operating procedure for all of that, or did you come up with it all by yourself?
It was out of necessity. It was kind of going, okay, I need to keep track of the main room. And so I had an old laptop I went and blew the dust off of. I was like, okay, at least I can keep track of the main room with that one. And of course, I had this, and then I go. And when I first did my first event, trying to go through the Zoom and then close the Zoom out to look at the acuity, just did not work. And then trying to find people, or I'm looking at the acuity and all of a sudden people are popping into the room. I don't even know they're there, or one thing or another. And then zooms up and there's a whole bunch of people just staring at me like, hello, we're here. It's like, oh crap. So I was like, okay, this doesn't work. So my second event, I knew I needed the TV. So I set the TV up. So I had it over there. So and then the phone came in later after the first time that my computer crashed. And I said, okay, I needed a backup. So it was after going through trial and error of figuring out what I needed to get the job done properly. And now it seems like that's been a great setup for me.
Please tell me you have a checklist for being a switchboard operator because I would like one.
A
please.
checklist?
Yeah.
I don't have a checklist. That's part of that being an adult and writing things down. Um, I mean, the checklist is in my head. What could possibly go wrong there, right? Yeah.
Being
Like,
a stream producer, as far as I've done so far, is having more than one person be on the call with me, having one dedicated person watch the chat, have one dedicated person watch Twitter or what was it, LinkedIn for hashtags. Never bothered setting up a phone and a laptop, never bothered hooking up my TV to Zoom. I should do all of that. So yeah, you've given me things to write down and try to figure out how to put together.
if you have people that are willing to do that, that's actually great because that's less work for you. I mean, if you can take, if you can concentrate when you're doing what you're doing, when you're interviewing people and stuff, that's what you should really be concentrating on. And now I'm not saying it wouldn't be cool to set up the Twitter and have the other things on the other screen so you can watch at the same time. But then are you still fully, if I'm talking with you and we're engaged and then I'm looking over here every few seconds at Twitter and trying to read that, then I'm not focused on you anymore. So yeah, I mean, but different people, different things work for different people. You find what works for you and go with that groove. But I would suggest if you have something that's working like that already, try and stick with that. Or if you're running into issues where you can't rely on other people to be there on a constant basis, then do have that backup. But I would do that as your first with your people, then your second as a backup. If I don't have people, I have this here. That way you can keep that full focus with people. That's my suggestion. And again, we're all wired differently.
Yeah. Um, it's not that I do that. I do this show by myself. When I'm helping other people with their events, that's when I ask for help. I get help and I utilize what they can do. So it's just nice to have that out there that I can have your list for doing this show by myself, and I can have my list for working with other people. But I think it would be nice for everyone to have, as a backup or just in case, insurance.
Absolutely. You always want to have that insurance when you do what you do. When we do these events, it's an entire team. We have, we'll have the person that's hosting with the Let Your Nerd Be Heard. We have the person that's in charge of the main event and the main room. We have somebody that's in charge of, or the organization will, whoever, making sure on any support that comes through, questions for support, anything like that, so that somebody's able to take care of that in real time. And then we'll have somebody like me that's running the host or the coaching zone. And then there's a backup. It could be Justin, the owner, or somebody else that if something happens, if I've got to leave, anything that happens, then like I said, things don't shut down. My computer crashes, I can use that Zoom. Hey, my computer crashed, then somebody's in the coaching zone ready to take it over. And we keep things going seamlessly. And but you got to do that with your team in order to do it, and have those backups in case something happens, because it's inevitable. Something will happen. Something will go wrong at some point in time, and so we try to be as prepared as we can for when that will happen, because it's going to. And if you walk in thinking that nothing will ever go wrong, then you're fooling yourself. I mean,
And I've been to at least 3 events that you've been the host of. Everything has always gone smoothly from my end, being a participant. What I like is I've gotten lost in the Zoom rooms. You've helped me find my way. I've been in Zoom rooms where I've talked to the same people. I come out, I talk to you, you give me another room. I meet with coaches. I want to say hi. You're there to help. And it's always smooth. So either you're just very good at your job, and I think you are, or everything has a process and everybody knows how to do that process well?
It's both. It definitely is both. And like I said, if one thing happens with one person, there's somebody there to pick up the ball and make sure it keeps going. And there's a lot of redundancies that are in there in case one thing or another happens. And the especially Let Your Nerd Be Heard has done enough of these that they've worked a lot of those kinks out, and we hear that a lot with people. They come through and they go, wow, these things run so smooth. And sometimes especially you'll see in the Slack, things are blowing up in the background, and it's like, oh my gosh, the building's burning down around us. And people are on Slack, okay, you do this, and nobody sees what's going on the front end. And not that that happens a lot, that rarely happens, but it has happened where one thing or another's gone. And or one person that's running, it's been funny, is like you have a host of event and they're like, the host just disappeared. What do you mean they disappeared? Their computer just crashed. The host of the event just crashed. Uh-oh. Okay, who's ready to back up? Okay, we've got this person ready to back up. Okay, fill in real quick. And they're there within seconds picking up, but on the back end, I mean, so yeah, it's an interesting process. But yeah, so it takes a whole team to make
Yeah.
these things happen.
How many people do you think would make a good team?
Depending on the level that you're working at. I mean, of course, the more people that you're working with, the more people you need on the team. So on events that we do, let's say we've had, on average, we've got about 400 or 500 people that are on in the main room. Anywhere between 100 to 500 people. Let's just say, to be safe. So you have one person that is the tech on the main room. Their job is to make sure people are highlighted, make sure the video reel's going, all this other stuff. So there's one person there. You have the backup tech. If anything happens to that person, they're ready to fill in. All right. So, and same thing in the coaching zone, you have me. That person that's right here in the middle is ready to pick up for me as well. They're basically just sitting in the wings, like, all right, I'm here just in case, and just ready to jump in. And then, so we've got 3 usually on a team to work about a 500 event. Again, if there's somebody that doesn't have somebody to check for, um, support or anything like that, sometimes that middle person might be the one that's checking support, or we have a 4th person that's there for support or anything else like that. So anywhere between 3 to 4 people for about a 500-person event or less. And then once you get past that, then it needs to grow. And that's just on the tech end. That's not involving the hosts or anybody else.
All right, that's good to know. So attending 3-day events usually make me tired. I love collaborate, but I can't attend every one. I know it's every other month or like every 2 months, something like that. As a switchboard operator, how do you sit there 8 hours, 3 days? And sometimes it's like 2 days before training on how to participate in the event. How do you keep your energy up?
Honestly, I feed off the energy of everybody else. I really do. It's I feed off the energy of the main room. What's awesome is a lot of times you'll see in Collaborate, they'll have somebody that comes in and does the energizer or different things like that. Each one of the coaches comes in fresh, and I usually, what I'll do is I'll have my headphones on, but I'll have one earbud from the other room that's in sometimes. Depending if it's crazy in here, that earbud's out because there's too much going on to have another voice in my head screaming and shouting. But when it's a little slower, then I can listen to that. It keeps me energized with that. But when people come in and they're sharing their stories and they're sharing where they're at, and it's really awesome to interact. I've had people in the coaching zone that as they were that played guitar, piano, and next thing you know, I'm like, okay, let me hear something. Next thing you know, we've got a concert going on, and people are coming into a coaching zone with music playing, and what's going on here? And and I have fun with it. And then when the coaches come in, and a lot of times when people aren't there, heck, I do it when people are there. I rib the coaches. I have fun with it, and just kind of tease them a little bit. They tease back. We just have a little bit of fun with that. And then, of course, drinking plenty of water. And, periodically when there's nobody in the room, I'll get up and stretch a little bit and, maybe do a couple lunges, do something like that just to kind of keep my blood flow going. And then when somebody's back in the room, I'm sitting at the chair ready to go. So, you gotta keep getting up and doing that to keep the energy. I'm looking at getting one of those stands that you can stand behind, the standing desks.
I know you're
That'll
talking
help out a little bit.
about.
Yeah.
What about the kind with the treadmill?
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. No, that's for those other people. I'm
You could have
okay
one of
with
these
it.
things for other people.
Yeah, the other people, that's for them. No. Yeah, I don't know. I could see people would come on, I'd be all out of breath and tired and sweaty, and no, that's all right.
Wow. I saw Noah Kagan, the owner of AppSumo, do an 8-hour show where he's on a treadmill. And then at the end of 8 hour, he got up and did I think 50 push-ups. I was like, yeah, I don't think I can do that.
In my 20s, I would have been like, let's do it. All right, all day long. I was heavy into weightlifting. I was heavy into doing all that other stuff. And then I actually carried across about 400 miles at one point.
Wow. How much
Yeah, and
did
so
the crossway?
it was really light. So I had when I first went to carry the cross, I had a company donate a cross to me that was made out of 4x4s. And I walked a quarter mile with that thing, and I said, "This is not happening." And I was in decent shape, and I'm going, "This just." So I had another guy that made one out of that PVC, the square PVC, like you see in the plastic fence posts,
Hmm.
the square one. So we made one out of that, and we actually used wood grain duct tape and then coated that. And it looked, I mean, unless you got up on it and saw the creases, it looked like real wood. And then we had a wheel mounted on the bottom of it, and then I would had a pad right here because even as light as it was, the vibration would rub against your after a while, and it would rubber you raw. So I had the pad there. But yeah, that was did about 400 miles carrying that one time, and that was one of those. I call that my Forrest Gump phase in life. Was my first company went under. I was trying to figure out who I was and where I fit in the world. So I went on this journey. And it's not that I'm some holier than thou whipping myself kind of person. It's just, I was like, I'm going to carry this cross, and set out and did it, which was really cool. It was a cool thing to do. I don't want to do it again, but it was cool.
I was just about to ask you, were you going to do it again?
Those days of walking, I mean, walking hundreds of miles carrying across, those days I don't see that in my future. I'm not going to say they're done because I don't want to close my mind off to any possibilities in the future. However, the likelihood is very small that would happen again. But you never know in life. But I think I've transitioned a lot from that. I'm not really into the big. I'm not big on preaching and doing these other things. It's more of I want to reach individuals where they are, um, and so I have a different journey in mind. But that helped prepare me, and I learned a lot from that for the journey that I'm on now.
It's good. So what's next for you?
That right now is top secret, but not really top secret. I've talked to you a little bit about what my goals are. My goals again are to wake people up that they are able to change the world, and not just wake them up, but give them the right tools to move forward with that. So my goal is to collaborate with a lot of different coaches and make this program. I'm finishing the proposal up this week on that, and I'm going to be submitting that to a lot of the different coaches out there and getting this project going. But we have a world right now where a lot of people are lost, broken. They really are struggling to find that direction. Suicide rates are going through the roof. And I mean, we haven't seen suicide numbers ever like what we see right now, all
Wow.
across the board, all across the board, teenagers all the way up through adults. And we see a lot of negativity online. We see a lot of people that are frustrated. They see stuff going on in the world. Look, 20 years ago, we didn't have access to the world that we have right now, and people are seeing so much, and now people are focusing more on the negative, and they're putting all that negative out there. So we're seeing that now more than we've ever seen before, and the kids that are growing up are seeing a lot of this, and we see how people are talking to each other on the internet, how they're putting each other down, how they're doing all this, and this new generation's growing up thinking that's normal on how we should be interacting. And so that my goal is to combat a lot of that, but again, helping people realize what their true potential is in life and helping them grow into that. And when they start walking in that, then they're going to start changing the world around them, the immediate world around them, and they can change the bigger world. And again, I think a lot of negativity comes from people that are frustrated because they know that they can make a difference in the world. They just don't know how to. And so they just go to the keyboard and they let their frustrations out on the keyboard. And that's where they stay. And it's like, okay, we need to get people out of that mode and into something more. And so that's my goal, is to start changing the world by doing that and helping people build into that.
I like that. Yeah. Work on yourself, find a community, and move forward together. That's what I've gotten from you so far today. So tell everyone where they can find you at, because we need to wrap up. It's 11 now.
Oh, that's quite all right. You can actually email me at ethoshift@gmail.com. So it's ETHOSSHIFT. So there are two S's in that. That's the question most people ask me, at gmail.com. You can also find Ethos Shift, that is two words, on Facebook, and you can message me on there. It was the main ethos shift was something I did a while ago, and then I kind of put idle, and now I'm blowing the dust off of that again and going, okay. It's funny how these things kind of circle back and build with that. Or they could, if people really want to get in touch with me, they can reach me through you. I'm throwing it on your shoulders, like, bother her. Yeah, go bother her. And then, now, it's never a bother. I love when people ask questions. And a lot of times, if there's questions that I can't answer, then it helps me to grow, because it realizes I need to go and find answers to these questions. So I love questions from people on things. So those are the ways that people can find me.
Okay. Well, it's no trouble for me to look up those links and put them in the group, and everywhere else this will be seen.
Do you
So,
need me to put that in chat here? I can do that. The ethos shift at Gmail for you.
okay. And I can copy
Um,
that and paste it in the groups.
Alright.
Okay, I have it.
Beautiful.
Thank you for your time, Jeremy, and you have a good rest of your day. I'm excited to hear about your next virtual summit.
Hey, I appreciate you inviting me on today. Thank you very much. It was definitely